Hello everybody! Welcome back to the shop and the F-14. Yeah, so I don't get a whole lot of time out here in the garage, especially during the week since the little one has started taking shorter and shorter naps. So I didn't get to make a video of popping that other mold together and everything, but for the rudder. But here's that rudder. You can see it's black on one side, gray on the other, like it was before. Weight is identical to the other rudder. This one did turn out much better. You can see on the other one, that little area right there did not happen on the other rudder. I got a little bit better suction in that little corner so it didn't create an air bubble. Like I said, weight's identical to two of them. So I have two rudders ready to be hinged and everything. About 5 ounces total for the two of them. Vertical fin molds are all closed up. Well, closed up as in not seamed together yet. I'm still waiting on some parts. I came out here yesterday and took care of some to-do lists on that. You can see there on the corner of my cloth table, I've got a bunch of stuff sitting on some paper towels with pill ply on it, all glassed up. That's all the internal components for the vertical fins, other than some stuff that I'm waiting on to show up. It's all balsa wood, but it's all glassed on both sides to provide a little bit extra strength. I was kind of debating on whether or not I was going to do that or not, but I decided to just go ahead and do it. A little bit of extra time. Didn't take too much. So that's that. I got to order some carbon rods and carbon tubes, and hopefully I'll have that stuff ordered this week. It'll be here by next weekend, and we'll be closing up some vertical fins. So that's what happened yesterday and the rest of the week. Not a whole lot of anything. And zoom back in. Oh, I did lay up the gear door and speed brakes. My layup, I expected them to be a little flimsy, which they are. You can see here's the nose gear skin, and it's flimsy as a rail, or not a rail, but a piece of paper. But I kind of expected that to happen. I just wanted really to check the stiffness, and when you get this one, you can't really tell very well with the nose gear door, but the main gear door, you can see it's even though it's flimsy, it's still fairly stiff once it gets some shape to it. So what I'll do is I'll end up laying another set of these doors up, and I'll put some of that Arex foam in here. That'll stiffen it up immensely. And then once I get that done, I can start doing all the internal door structure molds and everything, which is probably what I end up using these for. I'll pop these back in the molds, get them all nice and smoothed out. This one especially turned out a little wrinkly around the edges, but luckily it's around the edges. But use these to get all the internal stuff done so I can pop those, make up those molds, and that'll be one less thing to do. Fuselage still in the same state of semi-readiness. Got to get money for the Arex. Got to order that stuff from Germany. Hopefully that'll happen by the end of July. See, I got the wing mold out, and I got some. Oh, it's 3mm ROHSL on there right now. The ROHSL and the Arex is very similar. This stuff is identical, and it has fairly similar properties to the stuff I'm planning on using on the flying model, and this is just stuff I've got. This wing that I'm going to lay up eventually is just a test wing that I'm going to load up to destruction until it fails, just so I can see how my layup's going to work. To make up these internal panels is somewhat, it's just time consuming. It's not really difficult. What I try to do is, if I have a part that I can put in a trash bag and then suck a vacuum down on it and get it to smooth out inside the actual mold cavity itself, I try and do that. I did that with the rudders, the gear doors, and a couple of other small parts. You just really put it in a cheap white trash bag, throw a vacuum to it enough to where it'll suck down, and then smooth it out a little bit, and then go around with just a regular Sharpie and make the template, and cut that out of the plastic, glue the plastic down with some contact adhesive like a piece of cardboard or plywood or plastic. Cut that out, then you've got a reusable template. But for these wing panels, since they're so big, I don't want to waste vacuum bag material. So I try and either use the actual plug and wrap stuff around it to fit, or I'll do like this and I'll take the time to go around really slowly and get it to fit nice and tight. And then I'll make a copy of that onto a piece of paper. And I just use just regular brown shipping paper. But that's what this roll is just nothing but templates. Kind of hard. You see some stuff rolling out there now and then. This is everything for the vertical fins, the rudder. I got to put all the horizontal staff parts on here as well. And this has all the parts as well for the internal structure. You see there's copies of everything. So what I'll do is all of these really heavy outline parts, and then the little thinner parts are these are all glass layups, and then the green thin line stuff you see is all the AirX core parts. So everything that's either an AirX core or a fiberglass part, that part will get glued to a piece of plastic. Then I cut the plastic out, smooth it off, and then I'll have a permanently reusable template for all the parts. That way I can try and cut down on the amount of time it takes to cut all this stuff. And just that internal parts, just to cut the glass layers and the fill ply for all of that. And then the glass, it took a little over an hour. So anything you can do to eliminate time or save time works out better. In the future, what I'll do is for all those internal parts, I'll just take a piece of balsa wood of the right thickness and I'll glass the whole sheet of balsa at once. And then I'll send it to either the CNC cutter, or they can spec it themselves and source it. But if things work out well and I can pick up my own CNC router, I'll cut my own parts and I won't have to worry about it. Unless, of course, it's cheaper to outsource. So, as you can see, back to the wing here, this one piece of foam's not quite big enough to go the whole span of the wing. This, with the AirX cores, that's not going to be, this will all be one piece. Again, this is just a test wing, so if it's this little seam here, I'll make up for this, and I'll either cut it at an angle or something to try and, instead of having this one stop here, which will create a stress fixture. If it was metal, it definitely would. I'll try and spread that out across it. So let me zoom in over here to the root and I'll show you guys the other way. You can see how it's not quite 90 degrees to the trailing edge there. So all I'll do is just measure from the very front here. Make a mark in the same measurement back here. Draw the line. I mean, all this stuff is really simple. If you build anything, you should be able to kind of figure this stuff out. And the same thing back here, a little indentation. And you notice I'm using just a fine point Sharpie. There, yeah. I'm not using the ultra fine because the really small point ones of this stuff, it's like sandpaper on the tip, and you'll eventually have no tip left. Then just take a contour gauge. Take a contour of it. And I set it up to this tip back here over home just a little bit so I know exactly where to put it on the foam. Then line up the two. Make your line there. you end up with is a copy of it. Again, this foam is extremely hard and dense, so I don't use number 11 X-Actos. I actually use a straight box cutter because it's got the only thing you can reuse one. You can use a blade more than once with. The number 11 X-Acto, you'll literally make 1 or 2 cuts with it, and the blade's dull. It's done with. Back in there, did it right with a nice tight fit, which pretty much do. You can see nice and tight in there the whole way across. And just to emphasize how good this mold release is, this masking tape had no problem sticking to it before. Now it won't even stick to it. I mean, the mold release is just phenomenal. Back out. One of these days I'll figure out which direction works on that zoom. Wing panel around. You'll notice that I'm doing the bottom of the wing right now instead of the top, because the top's got all the craziness on the spoilers, which you can see it there towards the right of the picture, I guess. That whole craziness is going to be really difficult to get on the Arex. So what I'll do is I'll actually probably, just in the very big gaps between it, that's the only place I'll worry about getting the foam in there. The rest of it I'll just fill in with a little bit of epoxy and node fiber and goop mixture. And the reason for doing the bottom wing instead of the top is because this will give you a pretty good beginning point for the top section of the wing. The curvature is a little bit different, so it'll be a little bit large, the bottom will be a little undersized for the top, but at least with this you can get in here and you can kind of figure out what you need, and then you can oversize the leading edge portion of your template for the top of the wing. Then for the leading edge, I just make sure I got it pushed down nice and tight where I want it to go. And try not to make it crack like that. And if you can't get the fit in there too tight, I'll sit there and I'll just draw the line about a quarter inch further ahead of where I expect it to be. Then I can fine tune it again here after I cut it. Again, one useless masking tape on that mold surface. Cut there. So here in the wing cavity, push down in. Again, I don't want to go in there and hit this with a heat gun to get the form in there very well, because I want to be able to flatten it back out and use it as a template later on to the top part. And I said I can make that paper copy of it as well. One thing about the Arex foam is it's a little bit more formable than this stuff. This stuff is really hard to get to form very well. Alright, so that works there. And essentially I just go around doing this to the whole airplane, the whole wing panel. The little section here at the roof I'll fill in later. I'll probably actually put a little piece of this section here. I'll probably put a piece of thinner material there. Just because it doesn't, there's no structural properties there really. It's just a fairing. Same thing will go with the wingtip. I'm not too worried about it being extremely strong out there. So I just put a piece of thinner 1 millimeter or so out there and work from there. So that's how I'm doing my templates and stuff for the wings. I'm gonna try and get all the carbon parts and the glass layup and this mold primed and try and get everything I need for this wing panel cut out today. And when I order those tubes and rods for the vertical fins, I'm going to order some carbon toe as well for this wing panel spar. And hopefully next weekend I can start laying up the wing panels, or a wing panel as well. So till then, I probably won't have any more videos for a while. Next weekend is the earliest. So everybody out there, have a good week, and we'll see you back here in the shop.